The reality facing the New England Patriots right now is brutally clear, and it all starts with one critical position in the upcoming 2026 NFL Draft, pick number 31. This is not a luxury pick. This is not about adding depth. This is about identifying players who can walk into this roster and immediately impact the future of this franchise. Because when you're selecting this late in the first round, every decision becomes more difficult, more calculated, and far more important. There's a growing belief internally and across Patriots media that this draft could shape the trajectory of the team for years, especially when you consider how free agency will influence everything. If the Patriots go out and address edge rusher or wide receiver through free agency, it completely changes what they'll prioritize at 31. But as things stand today, three areas remain firmly under the microscope: offensive tackle, edge rusher, and wide receiver. And the names being discussed are not random prospects. These are players viewed as potential starters from day one. One name generating serious attention is wide receiver Casey Concepcion out of Texas A&M. This is a player who brings something the Patriots desperately need: speed, burst, and the ability to create explosive plays after the catch. At 5 feet 11 inches and 187 pounds, Concepcion combines quickness with toughness, showing the ability to break tackles and find open space naturally. His production speaks volumes. In just 13 games, he recorded 61 receptions for 919 yards, averaged 15.1 yards per catch, and scored 9 touchdowns. Those numbers show efficiency, big playability, and consistency. What makes Concepcion even more intriguing is how his skill set fits into Josh McDaniels' offense. His route-running sharpness, acceleration with the ball, and spatial awareness make him a potential game-changing weapon. And when you look at the Patriots' current receiver situation, the opportunity becomes obvious. The depth chart has questions. Mack Hollins brings experience. Kyle Williams has been inconsistent. Kayshon Boutte is still developing, and Demario Douglas offers playmaking ability but lacks the physical frame Concepcion brings. There's also uncertainty surrounding Stefon Diggs' future. If Diggs is no longer part of the equation, the need for a reliable, explosive receiver becomes even more urgent. But despite how exciting Concepcion may be, there's a strong argument that the Patriots' biggest priority remains protecting their quarterback, because everything revolves around Drake Maye. And if there was one lesson learned from the biggest games, it's that the offensive line must improve. That's why Monroe Freeling, the right tackle from Georgia, is emerging as one of the most logical and impactful targets available at pick 31. Freeling's physical profile alone makes him stand out immediately. Standing 6 feet 7 inches and weighing 315 pounds, he brings elite size to the position, but it's not just size, it's production. He earned an 85.7 pass blocking grade and allowed only 3 sacks across 891 snaps. That level of pass protection is exactly what this team needs. The Patriots are not just looking for run blockers, they're looking for someone who can protect their quarterback consistently, especially against elite pass rushers. And when you examine the current situation at right tackle, the urgency becomes undeniable. Morgan Moses has been a reliable veteran, but he's entering his late 30s and showed signs of physical decline, including dealing with a knee injury. The Patriots cannot afford to wait until that position becomes a full-blown crisis. They need to identify the future now. Freeling represents that future. Not only does he bring elite protection ability, but he also brings familiarity and chemistry. Having played alongside Jared Wilson at Georgia, that existing connection could accelerate his transition and strengthen the cohesion of the offensive line immediately. The Patriots' mission is simple: protect Drake Maye at all costs. Because when you have a young quarterback with franchise potential, nothing else matters more. You can have talent at wide receiver, you can have defensive playmaking, but if your quarterback doesn't have time to throw, the offense cannot function at its full potential. And that's what makes this decision at pick 31 so fascinating. Do you invest in explosive offensive weapons like Casey Concepcion, giving the offense more firepower? Or do you prioritize stability and protection with Monroe Freeling, ensuring your quarterback has the foundation needed to succeed long-term? Because one thing is absolutely certain: whoever the Patriots select at pick 31 won't just be another draft pick. This will be a decision that reveals exactly how the organization views its future and how aggressively it plans to build around Drake Maye. So now I want to ask you directly, if you were making the decision, would you prioritize giving Drake Maye another weapon, or would you focus on protecting him with a franchise offensive tackle at pick 31? And this is where the conversation shifts in a dramatic way. Because while protecting Drake Maye remains the foundation of everything the Patriots must do, there's another reality the front office cannot ignore. The defense still needs reinforcements, especially when it comes to pressuring the quarterback. And when you look at the potential defensive targets available at pick 31, two names stand out for very different reasons. Zion Young and Akeem Azador. Let's start with Zion Young, because his profile represents something Patriots fans have seen before: a physically gifted defender with strength, size, and the tools to develop into a complete edge player. At 6 feet 5 inches and 262 pounds, Young brings the frame that NFL teams covet. He has the length, the physicality, and the strength to disrupt plays, especially against the run. His senior season showed growth in key areas, including his play recognition and hand usage, allowing him to fight through blockers more effectively. The numbers show both promise and questions. Young generated 52 pressures, which demonstrates his ability to consistently affect the pocket. He also recorded 16.5 tackles for loss and 6.5 sacks. But that's where the evaluation becomes more complex. Because while the pressure numbers are encouraging, the sack production doesn't fully match the disruption, and at the NFL level, finishing plays is what separates good players from great ones. The Patriots are in a situation where they may need to replace K'Lavon Chaisson, especially with projections suggesting his next contract could reach massive financial territory. Investing that kind of money into one player isn't always sustainable, which makes the draft the logical place to find a replacement. Zion Young offers upside, toughness, and the potential to develop into a long-term contributor, but he may require patience. He represents future potential more than immediate dominance. And that brings us to the name that might be the most fascinating defensive option of all, Akeem Azador out of Miami. Because unlike Young, Azador isn't just about potential, he's about production, he's about impact, he's about results. Azador delivered one of the most dominant pass-rushing performances in college football. Leading the ACC with 12.5 sacks in 2025, he didn't just get near the quarterback, he finished plays. He also recorded 67 pressures and 17.5 tackles for loss, proving his ability to consistently disrupt opposing offenses. His combination of speed, power, and refined pass rush moves makes him one of the most complete edge defenders available in this range of the draft. What makes his rise even more impressive is that he played alongside Ruben Bain, a projected top draft pick who drew most of the national attention. Yet it was Azador who quietly outperformed expectations and became the true difference maker on that defensive front. That kind of production in a major conference cannot be ignored. His playing style has even drawn comparisons to Brandon Graham, not in terms of identical ability, but in terms of motor, versatility, and relentless pursuit of the quarterback. He brings physicality, aggression, and the kind of presence that can immediately elevate a defensive line. There is, however, one factor that teams will consider carefully: his age. Azador will be 25 years old in April. That means his developmental window may be shorter compared to younger prospects. But that also means he's more mature, more experienced, and potentially more ready to contribute immediately. And for a Patriots team that is shifting toward a win-now mindset, that immediate impact becomes incredibly valuable. This is the balance the Patriots must evaluate. Zion Young offers long-term upside. Azador offers immediate production. Monroe Freeling offers protection for your franchise quarterback. Casey Concepcion offers explosive playmaking ability on offense. And this is why pick 31 is so critical, because the Patriots are no longer drafting just to develop players slowly over time. They are drafting to accelerate their return to contention. Every selection must serve a clear purpose. Every decision must strengthen the core of this team. The offensive line remains a priority because protecting Drake Maye is non-negotiable. But the ability to pressure opposing quarterbacks is equally important if this defense wants to remain competitive against elite offenses. And adding another offensive weapon could completely transform how defenses approach the Patriots moving forward. The truth is, the Patriots may not control which of these players is available. Azador in particular may rise up draft boards after his dominant season. Teams looking for proven pass rushers may not let him fall to 31. And if he's gone, the Patriots will face an even tougher decision between investing in offense or defense. This draft will reveal exactly how the Patriots view their roster, their priorities, and their timeline to compete again. Because whether they choose Freeling, Concepcion, Young, or Azador, they will be making a statement about the direction of the franchise. What makes this entire situation even more intense is the timing. The Patriots are entering a phase where every move must align with a clear identity, and the draft is only one piece of that equation. Free agency will happen first, and that alone could completely reshape what happens at pick 31. If they secure a veteran edge rusher, suddenly someone like Akeem Azador becomes a luxury instead of a necessity. If they address wide receiver through a trade or signing, Casey Concepcion might no longer be the priority. And if they commit to extending key offensive linemen while adding depth, the urgency to draft Monroe Freeling could shift depending on how confident they feel in their protection plan. But here's the truth that cannot be ignored. The offensive line struggled in critical moments, and when protection breaks down, everything else collapses with it. We saw moments where pressure disrupted rhythm, confidence, and execution. And when you have a young quarterback like Maye, the responsibility falls entirely on the organization to build the right environment around him, not just weapons, not just schemes, but stability. Because stability is what allows quarterbacks to develop into leaders, into franchise players, into the foundation of long-term success. At the same time, the defense showed flashes of strength, even finishing among the top units under defensive coordinator Zach Kerr. That's why the conversation isn't simply about fixing weaknesses. It's about strengthening what already works. Adding another pass rusher like Mesidor could elevate the entire defensive front. Adding someone like Zion Young could create rotational depth and long-term security. And strengthening the offensive line could transform the offense overnight. This is why the evaluation process becomes so detailed and so important. This isn't about selecting the most popular name. It's about selecting the right fit, the right mentality, the right player who can step into this locker room and immediately contribute to building a winning culture again. The Patriots are doing their homework. Extensive research, film study, evaluations that go beyond statistics, because they're not just drafting for talent, they're drafting for impact. And when the moment comes and pick 31 is on the clock, that decision will represent months of preparation and a clear vision for the future. And as this process continues, as free agency unfolds and draft boards shift, one thing becomes clearer with every passing day: this pick has the potential to change everything. And the deeper you look into this situation, the more you realize that this decision at pick 31 isn't just about filling a hole, it's about defining the Patriots' next era. Because for years, this organization operated with stability, certainty, and a clear identity. But now, they are in the process of building something new, something that revolves around developing their young quarterback, strengthening the roster, and creating a foundation that can compete consistently against the best teams in the league. The offensive line conversation continues to stand at the center of everything. Monroe Freeling represents more than just size and production. He represents insurance. He represents continuity. He represents a player who can step in and potentially become the long-term solution at right tackle. With Morgan Moses entering the later stages of his career and already showing signs of physical wear, the Patriots cannot afford to wait until that position becomes a crisis. They must act proactively, not reactively. Freeling's ability to allow only 3 sacks across 891 snaps demonstrates discipline, awareness, and reliability. Those are traits you build around. At the same time, the appeal of adding an explosive wide receiver like Casey Concepcion remains strong. Offensive football in today's NFL depends heavily on creating separation, generating yards after the catch, and forcing defenses to respect every level of the field. Concepcion's ability to accelerate instantly after securing the ball creates opportunities that simply didn't exist consistently. His 9 touchdowns and nearly 1,000 receiving yards in just 13 games